What's up, everybody? James Gunn finally dropped the official Superman trailer, and, well, it's perfect. Let's dive in. First off, we got another great piece of the score playing over the entire trailer, so they're 2 for 2 in that department. But I knew the second David said Miss Lane that I was gonna love this trailer, and I know it's just a trailer, but I'm damn close to being convinced I love this movie already. Rick Flag Sr. is now the Secretary of Defense in the DCU, and he's looking into Superman stopping a war in what I assume is going to be Bravia, because we have the hammer of Bravia in the movie, so I assume that's kind of the foreign country that we're focusing on. Now, what's interesting there is, and I'm trying to think of how I should put this, but I'm going to assume the US government inside the DCU didn't want that war to end for whatever reason they have. We'll leave it at that. Art imitates life. Moving on from that, though, he's going to be arrested for stopping that war, and Lex, he's eating this up. But more importantly, at least to me, we see him with that big smirk on his face, right as Lois says president in her dialogue line here, and there have been rumors, just rumors, so take it with a grain of salt, but still, it makes sense with this trailer that Lex will run for president pretty early in the DCU, just something to keep in mind, and if you ask me, that would be a pretty good plot for a world's finest movie, cough cough, James Gunn. Then we've got this part, which David Cornsweat's face did turn into a meme yesterday from this scene, but the line here is interesting because it's a reference to something that I think a certain group of fans might not like. This, hey buddy, eyes up here is, and this is just my opinion, I don't want to speak for James Gunn, I'm not 100% sure this was his intent with this scene, but to me, it feels like this is James Gunn being like, look, my Superman, he takes the fight away from civilians. Anyway, this next thing is my favorite part of the entire trailer because I love that early 2000s, I think it was even late 1990s Authority run because I picked it up when the DCU got going and Gunn announced that movie, and it's become one of my favorite comics. But we get to see the engineer with her nanotech. This is something I was honestly super worried about, but god damn, I've got no worries now because she looks fucking amazing in this trailer with her VFX. Then this next bit of the trailer, I think, is showing us the middle of the movie, but it's kind of out of order. We see Lex at the fortress, and I think he'll do that once Superman is arrested, so then we've got Superman captured with Metamorpho using his powers to have a kryptonite hand to subdue Superman. But that's not voluntary, at least I don't think so. Notice that both Lex's soldiers are there, so obviously that's part of it, but I also think that the lady next to them in the other cell, in her pink dress, is his girlfriend from the comics, Sapphire Stagg. From there, I want to jump to Progressive Field, which that's the field's name in real life. I think, if I remember correctly, it's like Stagg Stadium, Stagg Field in the movie. But regardless, we see the engineer going crazy once again, and she seems to have given Terrific a pretty good beat down before she goes after Superman, but I guess that Ultraman could have been beating down on Terrific because he is a part of this stadium fight too, but it is looking like the best fight in the movie, at least to me, from the trailer. Then we jump to this shot, and I gotta be honest, I've got no clue what this is, but that's where the fun in speculation comes into play. This feels like maybe a bold prediction, but I think Lex built like a base or maybe even a prison, which we do see the Lex Corps guards in that prison with Superman and Metamorpho, so that's a possibility. But regardless, we see this and we're seeing it open up here, kind of like think of the X-Men's mansion. They come out of the hangar with the jet and their lawn opens up, kind of like that, but just opening up the Metropolis Bay, and even it seems like he's opening up part of the city. But here, I think it's going to be where Lex is keeping his kaiju and all of the other experiments that he has that will be unleashed on the city. But keeping the speculation going here, there was a real quick shot of Hawkgirl taking somebody out of a window, and I think there's actually a chance that this is Guy Gardner that she's tackling. Maybe something like, he goes to find her and bring her back to the Justice Gang, or even just recruit her to the Justice Gang, but I could also see a world, because we're talking about Guy Gardner after all, that he just opened his mouth. The point is, remember this scene in July, I think it's going to be Guy Gardner versus Hawkgirl in some sort of capacity. Then one last stop on the Speculation Express comes from this shot right here, and again, this is just my nerdy brain talking to me. I've got no sources, it's not a scoop, but I think this shot here is Superman fighting the Hammer of Bravia, aka Ultraman, in the Phantom Zone or some other dimension that Lex has found. We know Holt's Lex is going to be heavy on the science side of his history in the comics, and so to me, it makes perfect sense. But the part of the trailer I found most interesting, and this is just a tiny detail that probably shouldn't be the most interesting part, but regardless, in the final frame, which I love that he's just a normal dude who chills with his dog, that's a great part too, but I found it interesting that he's got medals in his room. Like, are those scholastic achievements considering the chessboard, or did little Clark Kent have a little bit of fun with his powers? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Overall, for me, this was a perfect trailer, 1,000 out of 10, a million out of 10. I couldn't have asked for anything more. From Superman and Lois, to the freaking engineer, to Lex, to the fights, to the score, and most of all his time at home on the Kent farm. This movie, it's going to be something special. And so that's going to do it for my Superman trailer reaction, breakdown, whatever you guys want to call it. I want to know what you guys thought about the entire trailer and how you're feeling heading into July now, so drop your thoughts down in the comments below and make sure you have a great day.